May 1940. While Hitler's tanks roll through France, another war rages in the mountains of Ethiopia. A war the world has already forgotten. In a cave high above the Abyssinian plateau, a group of fighters sharpens their spears by candlelight. Outside, Italian patrols sweep the valleys with searchlights. These men have been fighting for 4 years, and nobody knows they exist. They called themselves the Arbegnoch, the Patriots. When Mussolini's armies invaded Ethiopia in 1935, the world watched and did nothing. The League of Nations issued sanctions, then looked away. Emperor Haile Selassie pleaded before the assembly in Geneva. His words echoed in empty halls. "It is us today. It will be you tomorrow." Nobody listened. By May 1936, Italian forces marched into Addis Ababa. Ethiopia, the only African nation never colonized, fell to fascism. The emperor fled. The world moved on. But in the mountains, something stirred. Farmers became fighters. Nobles became guerrillas. Priests blessed bullets instead of bread. The Arbegnoch were born. They had no uniforms, no modern weapons, no international support. What they had was knowledge. Every mountain pass, every hidden valley, every cave that could shelter a man from Italian bombers. Ras Abebe Aragai controlled the northeast. Balay Zelik commanded the central highlands. Hailu Kabeda led fighters in Gajam. Names history would forget. The Italians called them Shifta, bandits. But bandits don't coordinate attacks across thousand-mile fronts. Bandits don't establish shadow governments. Bandits don't make occupiers afraid of the dark. By 1937, over 100,000 Ethiopians had joined the resistance. The Italians controlled the cities. The Patriots owned everything else. Marshal Rodolfo Graziani had a solution. They called him the Butcher of Fezzan for his work in Libya. Ethiopia would teach him new methods. February 19, 1937. 2 Eritreans threw grenades at Graziani during a ceremony. The attack failed. The response didn't. For 3 days, Italian forces and colonial troops rampaged through Addis Ababa. They called it Yekatit 12, the Ethiopian calendar date that would live in infamy. Houses burned. Intellectuals disappeared. Anyone who could read became a target. The killing wasn't random. It was systematic. Estimates vary: 3,000 dead. Maybe 6,000. Maybe more. Some say 30,000. But the massacres only fed the resistance. Every murdered father created 3 fighter sons. Every burned village sent survivors to the mountains. Graziani had awakened something ancient, something that wouldn't sleep again. The Patriots developed their own methods. They struck at night. Supply convoys vanished in mountain passes. Isolated garrisons woke to find sentries with cut throats. The Italians responded with poison gas. Mustard gas dropped from planes onto villages suspected of supporting rebels. International law meant nothing here. One Patriot leader, Abebe Bikila, watched his village die from gas attacks. 20 years later, he would run barefoot through Rome to win Ethiopia's first Olympic gold medal. Revenge served cold. At 26.2 miles. But in 1940, revenge seemed impossible. The Patriots were bleeding out. Ammunition ran low. Italian control tightened. Then, on June 10, 1940, everything changed. Mussolini declared war on Britain. Suddenly, Ethiopia's forgotten war mattered again. British intelligence officers parachuted into Patriot territory. They brought radios, weapons, most importantly, hope. One officer wrote, "We expected to find scattered bandits. We found an organized army waiting for supplies." January 1941. Emperor Haile Selassie returned from exile. He crossed the border from Sudan with a force called Gideon Force. But the real army was already there, in the mountains, waiting. The final campaign was swift. Patriots rose across the country. Italian forces, isolated in their garrisons, crumbled. Village by village, town by town, the occupiers retreated toward Addis Ababa. On May 5, 1941, exactly 5 years after the Italians marched in, Emperor Haile Selassie entered his capital. The Patriots had won. But history books rarely mention this. They talk about El Alamein, D-Day, Stalingrad, not the farmers who fought tanks with spears, not the priests who became guerrilla leaders, not the 5-year war that nobody saw. 275,000 Ethiopians died resisting occupation. Some estimates reach 760,000. Their victory was Africa's first against European fascism. Their resistance methods would inspire liberation movements across the continent. Yet their names faded. Their stories vanished. The Patriots returned to their farms, their mountains, their silence. In 1974, archaeologists found a mass grave near Addis Ababa. Inside, hundreds of bodies, men, women, children, victims of Yekadit 12. Among the remains, a piece of paper, water-damaged, barely readable, a list of names, patriots who died in Italian custody, names meant to be forgotten, but someone had hidden the list, preserved it, knowing that someday someone would search for truth. Today, few remember the Arbegnoch, the shadow army that held the line when the world looked away. Their battlefields are farmland now, their cave hideouts, forgotten, their victories, footnotes in wars fought far away. But in Ethiopian villages, old men still whisper stories of nights when the mountains moved, when farmers became lions, when Africa stood alone against fascism, and won. They say on quiet nights you can still hear them, singing their war songs in caves that no longer exist, waiting for the world to remember, or forget them all over again.